Thanks for watching ERi-TV, dear viewers. Welcome to our news broadcast. First, the major headlines. 6 patients diagnosed positive for COVID-19 today. Soil and water conservation campaign in progress in Eritrea. Protests erupt after police shoot black man in Minneapolis. Iran blames Israel for Natanz nuclear plant outage and vows revenge. Announcement from the Ministry of Health. 19 patients have been diagnosed positive for COVID-19 in tests carried out today at quarantine centers in Gashbarka, southern and central regions. From these, 14 patients are from quarantine centers in Adbara and Agordat, Gashbarka region. 4 other patients are from the quarantine centers in Mandafara, southern region. The last patient is from a quarantine center in Asmara, central region. On the other hand, 30 patients who have been receiving medical treatment in hospitals in the southern region have recovered fully and have been discharged from these facilities. The total number of recovered patients has accordingly risen to 3,196, while the number of deaths stands at 10. The total number of confirmed cases in the country to date has increased to 3,466. Ministry of Health, Asmara, 12 April 2021. Inhabitants of Arbaat Asmara subzone central region are conducting soil and water conservation popular campaign, mainly focusing on the construction of terraces, reports indicate. Speaking to ERINA, Ms. Alganish Tuku, administrator of Arbaat Asmara subzone, stated that objective of popular campaign is to redress the environment before the coming rainy season. Mr. Barakhat Dinas, soil and water conservation expert on his part, said that the popular campaign is being conducted on a bi-weekly basis in which about 2,000 residents are participating. Mr. Barakhat further said so far over 10,000 hectares have already been terraced. Reports from the Ministry of Agriculture branch in Arbaat Asmara indicates that over 25,000 tree seedlings are ready to be planted in the coming summer. Committed efforts have been exerted to extensively introduce smokeless ovens at Hanet Mogogo in Atkaro and Snaga administrative areas Tsarona subzone, indicating that the subzonal administration in cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture have trained a number of women to construct over 300 smokeless stoves in Tsarona suburban center. Mr. Haptish Takhlebrhan, head of agriculture in the area, said that commendable construction efforts are already underway, noting that Adhanet Mogogo, or the Adhanet energy saving stove, in addition to being energy saving, contributes significant role in ensuring family health and sanitation. Mr. Haptish called on every family to reinforce participation in the introduction of the smokeless stove. In related news, residents of Adi Hargats, Una Andom, Garzabo, Dekilafai and Fiho administrative areas Tsaruna subzone are involved and the intensive machinery support flood-damaged dirt road renovation activity. Those are domestic news. Please stay tuned for the international right after the short break. Police fired tear gas and rubber bullets as angry protests erupt in the Minneapolis suburb after a 20-year-old black man was shot dead during a traffic stop. The unrest in Brooklyn Center came hours before the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with murdering George Floyd, was set to resume in a courtroom less than 16 kilometers away today. Outside the Brooklyn Center Police Department last night, smoke billowed as a line of police officers fired rubber bullets and chemical agents at about 100 to 200 protesters who were throwing rocks, bags of garbage and water bottles at the police. Another pocket of protests broke into about 20 businesses at a regional shopping center, with some businesses looted, according to the police and local media reports. Brooklyn Center's mayor ordered a curfew until 6 a.m., and the local school superintendent said the district would move to remote learning today out of an abundance of caution. The man killed by police was identified by relatives and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as Dante Wright, 20. Walz said in a statement that he was monitoring the unrest as the state mourns another life of a black man taken by law enforcement. Anti-police protests have already spent recent days rallying in Minneapolis as the trial of Chauvin enters its third week in a courthouse ringed with barriers and soldiers from the National Guard. Iran blames regional archfoe Israel for a sabotage incident as its key Natanz nuclear site and will exact revenge. The Iranian TV quoted its foreign minister as saying, in what appears to be the latest episode in a long-running covert war, Iran's semi-official newsroom website said the person who caused an electricity outage in one of the production halls at the underground uranium enrichment plant had been identified. The website reported that necessary measures are being taken to arrest the person without giving details about him. The incident occurred amid diplomatic efforts by Iran and the United States to revive Tehran's 2015 nuclear deal with the major powers, an accord Israel fiercely opposed after former U.S. President Donald Trump abandoned it 3 years ago. Last week, Iran and the global powers held what they described as quote-unquote constructive talks to salvage the deal, which has unraveled as Iran has breached its limits on sensitive uranium enrichment since Trump reimposed harsh sanctions on Tehran. Iranian authorities described the incident a day earlier as an act of nuclear terrorism and said Tehran reserved the right to take action against the perpetrators. Multiple Israeli media outlets have quoted unnamed intelligence sources as saying the country's Mossad spy service carried out a successful sabotage operation at the underground Natanz complex, potentially setting back enrichment work there by months. Israel has not formally commented on the incident. Foreign Ministry spokesman Saeed Khatibzadeh told a news conference today that Iran's response will be revenge against the Zionist regime in its place and time. Ferocious winds caused widespread damage to homes and buildings in towns unprepared for cyclones. Tens of thousands of people in Western Australia were without water and power today after a rare tropical cyclone tore roofs from homes and destroyed flimsily built houses as it crossed the coast on Sunday night. Officials said approximately 70% of the structures in the coastal town of Kalbarri, about 500 kilometers north of state capital Perth, were damaged when the Category 3 storm made landfall, with winds at speeds of as much as 170 kilometers per hour. About 30% of the damage was significant, Western Australian Emergency Service Commissioner Darren Clem told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. The area had not seen such a cyclone in at least 40 years, local media reported. Prime Minister Scott Morrison posted on his official Facebook page, the situation in Western Australia remains very serious, adding the federal government's disaster response plan had been activated. The cyclone named Seroya was downgraded to a Category 2 system after making landfall and finally moving back out to sea in the early afternoon today, according to the Bureau of Meteorology in Perth. Showers and gusty winds were expected to continue, but not to be severe, the reports added. And that was our news for tonight, dear viewers. It is good night from us.